The Prime Minister backs Minister's pragmatic call to spend Kāinga Ora money on local bridge. We'll play the video for you in a second. Senior Minister Chris Bishop is rejecting criticism. No, like he did yesterday with EVs. No. Over a funding decision shifting Kāinga Ora money to a walking and cycling bridge in his electorate that he campaigned on. Bishop, who was the Housing and Transport Minister and Hutt South MP, agreed in March this year to lower Hutt City Council's request to reallocate funds earmarked for stormwater upgrades for the City Link Bridge, a project he campaigned on. He campaigned on it. Overall, National doesn't like it. He campaigned on doing it, and then he got the money taken from the project he campaigned on doing, and he gave that money to another project in his own electorate. I mean, you know, haven't we heard this government spit tax about people like Magenta focusing and looking to get money for cycle lanes in their own electorate? Hasn't that been a big news story in the last cycle? So let's have a listen to what Christopher Hipkins says, and then a very short comment afterwards from the Prime Minister. I'm going to refresh the page. This is me singing my refresh song because I need to refresh the page.
So you've got Chris Bishop taking money from one of his portfolios, housing, to give to another one of his portfolios, transport, for a project in his own electorate, which he had publicly campaigned for, that his own government cancelled. All of that just doesn't...
Did you get that, Jenga whānau? He campaigned on something that his government then cancelled. So he took money from that cancelled one that he campaigned on and he put it to something in his own electorate. Right. That sounds normal.
Doesn't pass the sniff test.
What are you suggesting went wrong? Like, what is actually the sin there?
Well, the money that he's reallocated for a walking and cycling project had been allocated for stormwater work so that more houses could be built in the Hutt Valley. Clearly, that's...
I think that's the Kāinga Ora connection as well. More houses could be built, and there was Kāinga Ora houses. So houses for vulnerable people. Nah. I'm going to put it in something in my electorate that I can then point to in a year from now saying, look what I did for you, elect me again.
Stormwater work's not going to happen if that money's being spent on a walking and cycling bridge instead.
It sounds like the council are pretty keen on it.
Everyone's keen on it. I'm keen on it. But I don't think they should be taking money away from stormwater infrastructure to prop up a project which they cancelled. They basically said as a government, we don't want walking and cycling bridges, so they're cancelling all of those. And then now Chris Bishop says, except for the one in my electorate, which I'm going to take money away from housing to pay for.
So is it Paul Barrowing?
I think it's a very questionable process, and it certainly doesn't pass the sniff test in terms of having one minister moving money from one portfolio that he's responsible for to another portfolio that he's responsible for a project which he campaigned on in his own electorate, which his government cancelled.
Are you confident that everything was above board in terms of how Chris Bishop handled the project in his electorate regarding Kāinga Ora funding?
Absolutely. Very pragmatic funding decision, but also he took advice from the Cabinet Office and he acted accordingly with that advice.
So now they're taking advice. It's funny how this government rejects advice. Remember, Luxon himself says my ministers won't even read the advice. But then when they needed to defend their decisions, no, we took advice. So it's not us, it's them. They decided we took advice. So yeah, that's a bit of a crazy one. Just let me say this one thing, because this comes on the heels, and I won't play it for you, although it's a pretty good thing to play the credits here. Oh, look at those credits. Emily's a legend. Craig Rennie was on Gary's podcast, which came out on Monday. We did like a one that wasn't part of the cycle. And what Craig found out was that there is half a billion of taxpayers' dollars evaporated, right? Craig told the podcast about the $500 million in the health budget that didn't get spent despite overwhelming need. Now, this is the more serious part of this, right? It's okay to take the piss out of Chris Bishop and others saying, what's going on? But he's reallocating money from one area to another. The government is reallocating money, half a trillion, 500 billion from health. Remember that whole thing earlier in there when they were putting 50 million into the private sector to get rid of the queues on the waiting list. Well, they haven't spent 10 times that. So they put 50 million in and they haven't spent 500 million. So that 500 million could have gone straight into the public system, getting more nurses, getting more doctors, advertising offshore, trying to bring them in, and no backlog, no waiting list anymore, whānau, because if 50 million was going to clear up a lot of the backlog, imagine what 500 million would have done. We haven't spent, that goes into the consolidated fund next year for us to then cover our asses because we've overspent on tax breaks, landlords, big tobacco, and it seems big oil as well, Chewie.
Yeah. Look, I think what Luxons means by the fact that this is a pragmatic funding decision is that by taking money from Kāinga Ora and putting it towards a bridge in the Hutt in Bishop's electorate, it's an acknowledgement that because they have cut building Kāinga Ora social homes, that people are going to end up living under that bridge. So that's okay. Like it's the fact that Simeon Brown's mission against anything that could actually help someone on a bicycle must be culled has blown up in his colleague's face, and he's had to do a spreadsheet switcheroo to fix it, to make sure he doesn't break a promise and looks like an utter goon by doing it. Like, it's spectacular how inept and corrupt this government is. We shouldn't stand for it.
Oh, if we're not going to stand for it, Chewie, is there anything we can do about that? Like in 12 months from now?
What we can do is we can go to our local paper and say that we're not going to stand for it anymore, and then have our photos taken with our arms crossed. That's one way to enact social change. I understand, taught to me by the grey-haired locals of Mosgiel whenever they're unhappy about something. That's how they get shit done. Outside of that, I don't know.
I thought when they got together like that around a building and they cross their arms and look grumpy was because they gravitate towards one another, and they saw one person there, and when you have one elderly person there with their arms crossed, the other's just kind of, it's like a magnetic force, and then there's a group of them. I thought it was just, that was the reason they did it.